This is the inside of the Swift Autocruise Accent. If I firstly move to the main control panel, we can turn the 12 volt on just here. When we turn the 12 volt on, it will let us know if we have main supply connected, and it will also let you know which battery you are using. So we're currently using the leisure battery. Beside this, we have water pump on and off. We need the water pump on to be able to get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained down. We then have awning light on and off, and it will illuminate here to let you know that it's on. View levels, so this will give a condition of the leisure battery, condition of the vehicle battery, how much water is in the fresh tank and how much water is in the waste tank. And then we have the main isolator for the cabin lights, and then these can all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. We can also switch between the batteries, so I can now switch to the vehicle battery and then switch back to the leisure. Whichever you have picked on here is the battery you are using to run the back end of the motorhome. But also when you're hooked up to the main supply, this is then the battery you are charging from the mains. So you'll see now if I hit view levels that this one has shot right up as it's now under charge. If we now come to the dinette area and the travel seats, we have the table just here. To rotate your seats, just use the levers just here. The table can extend just by pulling down here, and then it will then swivel out. To give you extended dining for the passenger seat. The table can be stowed above the cab. To remove it, just push down on the two buttons just here and then lift off, and fold the leg by pushing the button in here. And as you can now see, it's now stowed above, and then we have this little clip here that just goes across to stop it from sliding about everywhere. We can then turn this part here into a bed. You'll see that you have a lever just here that you push down and then slide this section out. Once you have slid this section out, if we now remove the cushions, whilst we remove them, you'll see that we have storage beneath. What we now want is some of the infills. So we have these two identical ones just here, and they just slot into these sections just here. And then we have the back cushion just here, and again we have a little infill just here. And then lastly, we then have these two identical cushions again that we then slot in. Like so. You can have the cushions flipped over the other way if you wish. It just comes down to personal comfort. You can also raise the height of the driver's seat, the same as with the passenger seat. It's just all done on the two levers just here to get it again into the position that is most comfortable for yourself. if we now just rebuild it all again. We also have more storage in the floor just here. Sink just here. Beneath that we have storage. You'll also find the majority of the gas isolation taps for the van just here. They are colour coded and correspond on the sticker beside it. They're all in the on position, and quite frankly they can stay like that. They are more for maintenance than anything else. I always say if you do smell gas in the van, go to the source and isolate the gas bottle. Microwave just sits here. It's always advisable to remove the contents for travel. We have start stop just here. Obviously time select, power selection here, defrost, etc. Beneath that we then have the two gas burners. Push in, twist and press the igniter to light. Beneath that we then have the grill, and again it's just push in, twist and push the igniter. And then we have drawers underneath. Next we have the Dinette fridge, on and off just here. We then have a little picture of a 2-pin plug for main supply. After that we then have gas. These will auto ignite themselves, so nothing else is required. Beside that we then have 12 volt maintain, so this is the one we have it on. If we want to keep the fridge cold whilst we travel, it will only operate when the engine is running. So if I now press it at the moment, it's going to beep at us and we're going to get a red flashing light letting us know that we do not have 12 volt at the moment. This is the noise it will also make if it fails to light on gas. If you think it may just be down to some air in the system, just press the triangle just here and then it will attempt to fire itself back up again. And it will also beep if you're trying to run it on mains and you're not connected. Temperature control just here. And then we have the fridge itself and the freezer compartment above, which is removable. There are a couple of clips underneath to remove it if required. Above that we then have the wardrobe. So in here we have the infill planks for the rear bed, and we also have the television aerial. So to raise the mast, undo the collar just here and then raise the mast up. This little green window here represents the back of the aerial, so we know which way it's facing. Once you've got it into the position you require, lock it back into place. Never over tighten these collars because you can run the chance of splitting them. This H here stands for horizontal, so at the moment the aerial is sitting like this. What we can do is flip it to a vertical position if more tuning is required, and you just turn the tail just here to flip it onto its side. Beneath it we then have the actual digital amplifier for the aerial itself, on and off just here, and control the boost just here. Do make sure that the aerial is down for travel. The plug plugged in right at the back is for the microwave. Next we have the washroom. So we have the Thetford toilet just here. The bowl does move about to open to the cassette. just slide across just here, and then push the flush just at the back here. Level indicator just here to let you know when the cassette needs emptying. Close the cassette back up again. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure nobody's left it open. We then have the basin just here, which also seconds as the shower head as well, which pulls out and then fastens up here. Light switch just here. As we now move to the back, we have the controls for the heating and hot water system just here. So we have two dials. The lower dial picks the power source that you want to use to run the heating and the hot water system. So at the moment we are on the two wavy lines, and wavy lines represent mains electricity. So if I was to fire up the system now, I would be using main supply using 2 kilowatts. If we flick it to a single line, main supply using 1 kilowatt. So this is handy if we're on a low amp site to try and avoid tripping. If we have no main supply at all, we can run on gas with a little picture of the flame. And if we have both power sources available to us, we can run in dual fuel. So we can run on a mixture of gas and mains at 1 kilowatt, or a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts. These settings here are especially handy in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only use the gas as it is required. So once we've picked what power source we want to be using, we then come to the dial above to pick what we actually want on. So you'll see that this dial has an inner dial and an outer dial. At the moment we're on off. If I just want hot water, I rotate the dial upwards. So we have hot water at 40 degrees and hot water at 60 degrees. This amber light just here will go out once the temperature you have asked it has been achieved. If we now go down, we have a little picture of a flame. Whereas down here, that flame represents gas. Up here, the flame represents the blown aired heating system. So this is heating on its own. And if we flick it down again, we have heating and hot water at 60 degrees. We control the temperature of the heating by rotating the dial just here. Whenever we are using main supply, this little amber light will come on down here. It will go out if we are just using gas, and instead, if it fails to light on gas, a red light will appear to let you know that it has failed. Next, if we just remove the cushions from the back bench seats. So if we now come to this side and remove the cover, we can see the top of the Truma combi boiler just there. We have the water pump just here, and then we have a little bit more storage just here. If we now come across to the other side, we have here the location of the leisure battery. So that just sits here. We can see tucked down here the main 12-volt fuse just there. We also have here the battery charger. So this is what's charging both leisure and vehicle battery when we are hooked up to main supply. We have the solar panel regulator just here. We don't need to do anything with this. The solar panel will just charge the leisure battery as it is required. And then beneath that we have the consumer unit itself. So we have the main strip switches just here. They are all labelled up. So if anything's not working on main supply, just come and check whether or not you have tripped. And then beside that we have all the 12 volt fuses. So again, if something's not working on 12 volt, just come and check to see whether or not anything has blown. They all correspond on the sticker just here. Above it we have isolator switches just here. So we have the isolator switch for the heating and hot water on main supply. So if I turn that off, I would just confuse that Truma dial just there. So really it can just stay on. It's more for maintenance than anything else. The same with the green one. The green one is for the battery charger just here. So again, if we turn that off, we will not be able to charge the batteries up when we hook up to main supply. This one here will illuminate if you have reverse polarity connected to the van. You may find this on some continental sites. Just here we have full system shutdown, so if you are planning on not using the motorhome for long periods of time, you can press this to kill any residual draw on the battery. These buttons here are more for workshop, but you can press it and see the condition of the leisure battery and the vehicle battery, the battery amps. These little straps here are to hold the table pole in place for travel. And as you can now see, it's now secured just there. If we now make up the rear bed, which we will require this table here and the two infill planks. So I'll just pause the video again for 1 second. So everything drops into place like so. So we have the two planks just here, and then the table just sits here, and we just pull across the two catches to lock it into place, and then we just pop on the cushions. And as you can see, they just go together very easily like so. And then you have a nice large double at the rear. The table can stow away just in this underfloor section here for safe travel.